Good morning, friends. It's Morning Coffee with Brigid Burke, and today is the 15th of November, and this is a day in which we have this is a big morning. Sam, hello. Good morning / afternoon, and Alex, good morning. We are, like I said, we finally made it to the 15th. We've made it to the first of the first 4 pivotal days we have, right? We've got this full moon in Taurus, in Uranus being opposed to the sun. It looks lovely. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my hair looks lovely, Alex says. And yeah, I just had it, done yesterday. We were kind of musing on the fact that my hair is very, very white underneath. And so when she was doing my hair, because I usually have foils done to lighten it up because I have that kind of darkish, blondish hair underneath. Or, well, I did before I went white. And there's just some spots that tend to be darker. Thank you. Yeah, Joanna always does a really nice job. It tends to be a little darker here. So, good morning, Suda. And it was, so when she did it, she's like, I'm just amazed. She said, I thought by now your fringe would be like way darker than the rest of your hair. And she said, in fact, everything kind of blends together. So, yeah, so it kind of worked out. Looks, came out pretty good. I don't like it as straight. I like it with a little more curl at the end, but, it's fine. It looks good. It's just not, I'm not. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know how well you could see it. I was on Suda last night, but I don't know how well you could actually see my hair because it was kind of dark in my house. But yeah, she did that. And Joanne, good morning. And I was just thinking about you this morning too. Yeah, I had a really busy day yesterday. It was we had a couple of appointments, and then I had my regular Rahani in the evening with somebody, and so it was just it was just kind of a funny, kind of semi-chaotic day. But I'm not the only one. Yeah, because then I have another class that I teach, the Milford in-person class, and that class was, for some reason, there was an extra date there. There was like a 9th date, and I was like, I only made this one 8 weeks. And one of my students actually had said, yeah, I can't do that last week, if we move things around. But I don't know, it's just been a problem because one of the students, she can only make it certain weeks. So I'm like, okay, I am rearranging some dates because I'm like, there's some exercises that I think it's better not to just have one person doing it. I think it's better. And those of you who've taken the class, you know what that's like. So I told them, let's cancel it for this weekend and we'll meet next weekend, and then we'll try to figure out the last couple of dates if Corona has some places and they have the time to come in and do it. So we're just going to try to figure it out. But just trying to get the logistics of everything, that has, and apparently what I had learned is that on, the Flames pack, in Wix, because those of you who are just such fans of Wix, good morning, Melissa. Those of you who are, and which is probably pretty much none of you, and I probably am included with you in that in terms of their registration and stuff. Apparently, if you have, like, when people took intuitive development, they could have gone in and added themselves to the class list every week, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that, but I do have one student who does that, and I thought she was paying week by week, and they were like, no, she prepaid, but she's just scheduling herself to be in that class. Be with her prepayment. So I was like, okay, I guess you can do that just like you can do with Rahani. So, yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, I didn't realize that either, but apparently she did. So, yeah. Anyway, it was kind of yesterday we were trying to figure a lot of things out, but everything was good in the end. Everything was a good day. Got to meet Suda's mom yesterday, which was really nice. That was really good. And, she's a really lovely person, and and so, yeah, and of course got to catch up with Pat last night. Pat has been, those who were missing her here, she's got a different work schedule, and she's just, this hour of the morning's not working for her right now. So, but eventually I'm sure she'll, if she gets adjusted or if things change, she'll probably be back. So, yeah. So anyway, that's sort of the news update, I guess, for the morning. Today, I'm going to have a little bit of a quieter weekend. Well, we'll see. Because I was just starting to talk about the planetary influences. Your hair looks pretty. Thank you. Everybody likes my hair. I'll have to let Joanna, my hairdresser, know that everybody likes it. Because, I went to go see her yesterday. I guess they were doing interviews. Like, they're trying to... so if you buy individually at another venue, but if you so if it's you buy individually or another venue, you cannot. But if you prepay, you can. You actually, okay, if you do it individually, you're automatically added to the list. If you do it through the website. Like I know a lot of times, Joanne, you do it, we arrange something outside the website. And so does Ellen as well. And here we are with the full moon with Uranus. Yeah, exactly. Well, right, that's what I mean. I'm thinking about this chaos factor here. Actually, what it is, the key to Wix, actually, for all of you who are who have logins, is the login is the key. Because once you have one account, you can log in, and then whatever you have, if you have a subscription on an account, if you have whatever it is, because in that case, she would have prepaid, and Corinna would have put her in the system as having paid, for 8 weeks or whatever. Then she can go in each week and say, oh yeah, I'm using my subscription to pay for my class this week. Not you. Well, I think you've got password issues, I think, with Wix. And you know what? That is confusing. And I don't like the fact that Wix seems to have this thing of, oh, if you have a password on Transition Life Coaching, it also works on the ISFM, and it also works on, they're like, oh, but that just makes it easy. I'm like, no, it doesn't. There's a random stranger with a Wix site. I don't want my passwords to be usable on their site, There is an app, yes, but the app is horrible. It's every bit as horrible. And apparently, you can't do any. You can't register on it. I think you can look at what you have scheduled, and that's about it. Because they're always pushing me to push the app on people. I said I've downloaded and examined that app, and I looked at it with one of my students actually in Milford, and it literally has nothing that you need on it. So big shocker, right? So yeah, exactly. Because if that app worked as it should, if it was a well-designed app, then I would say, yeah, totally. Everybody download that and put it on your phone. But literally, as soon as I saw the way this app was set up, I was like, heck no, people are confused now. They're going to be even more confused with this stupid app. So I don't know. I still want to, I'm going to need to make a day, just like I need a day to get through the taxes and all that kind of not fun stuff. I need to spend a day doing that. Squarespace isn't better. Someone sent a form for a reading and I never got it. Yeah, Squarespace, see, I don't know. Squarespace I think is better on the commerce side, I think we had used it at the Rockbox and it was okay, but it's now I'm wondering how many other people wanted a reading and I don't know about it. Yeah, it might be, they may have something weird about their form setup. And of course, we've got all this chaos, and Mercury's about to go retrograde. So, but maybe you want to give Squarespace a call and explain to them what's happening, and maybe have them look at your form and make sure that it's set up in a way that you're going to receive it. Because if there's something about it where that's not happening, then it's like why do I have this here? Because sometimes they always have like an extra step. It's like, oh, okay, now you've created the form. Now you got to do these. Oh, thanks you. Yeah. Now you got to do these 5 steps to connect it in. And yeah, I had to sit there on the phone. And mind you, I worked in IT for years. I mean, I'm not, I know how to use this kind of stuff. And I'm like, why is this set up this way? And these poor people on the phone, they're like, okay, let's walk you through it step by step. And they're very nice about it. But yeah, no, it's just, yeah, Squarespace, all these are supposed to be kind of cookie cutter, out of the box, easy to use, but in practice, when you want to do anything, I don't know, other than straight up sell a product, I guess. I managed a huge network. Yeah, I mean, and I did, I managed, yeah, I think all of us have, many of us here anyway, not all of us, but many of us have done IT stuff or worked in systems or deal in tech in some way, and yeah, we all know how this, the pitfalls of these and how they can go. So this morning what I was thinking about, as Alex pointed out, we've got this full moon conjunct Uranus because it's in Taurus. Systems for sure, yes. So it's going to be a full moon in Taurus. It's the last of the supermoons that we have, okay? So supermoons bring an additional potency. And I was watching this guy, Stephen Brown. He's what he calls like the cosmic weatherman. Like he talks about what's going on with the magnetic field and what's going on with solar activity and stuff like that. Now, interestingly, with this full moon, he said the solar activity has actually taken a nosedive when he was thinking it might pick up. But he said it's almost like that lunar, like the energy is now been refocused to the lunar energy rather than the solar. And he was talking about the Pleiades and the way that, because it's actually also conjunct the Pleiades as well. So people who believe in the Pleiadian kind of stuff and the whole starseed thing, he said that would represent like an activation for people who believe in that. He also gave a really good explanation of what all that is, because he said if you're talking about beings from other, did you see the conveyance sent? He's a trip. I don't know if I have, but they had. But what happens is he was saying basically that it has a lot to do with the light spectrum that we're on, and that the reason we're considered lower vibration is not because we're lesser beings, but because we see things and we experience things in the spectrum of visible light. And what he's saying is that when you're talking about beings, so they're supposedly these higher dimensional beings, is they vibrate more on a frequency that's more in the rate of UV light. But UV light, when we're exposed to UV light, it breaks down our DNA. So he said a lot of this ascension stuff is more about the way in which we shift, because he said what these solar storms are doing is they have brought a lot of UV into our environment. So it's almost like our bodies have to change to be able to process that. Like that's what they mean when they talk about the ascension stuff, like the idea that if you're moving, if the earth is vibrating at a higher frequency, then we need to change to vibrate with that higher frequency. So did you see the clip sent? He's a trip. Maybe, I don't know. I know you've sent me a bunch of them, and I don't know if there's one you sent me this morning. Please send a link, Brigid. Yes, I will send a link to Stefan's page, because it's like I said, I don't know him, but I just know that that's his name, and he works with the guy on World. So seeing is not believing. Well, seeing also is, I think, there's more than what we see. What we see with our eyes is not, it's only a portion of it. And that's the way we're kind of conditioned, is to only see in that, it was the old logical positivism, I only believe it if I see it, and, or if I personally experience it, or if one of my five senses, I experience it, then I'll believe it's a real thing. But the thing is, there's a lot of stuff that are real things that are outside of that. Very interested in light photons, light therapy, circadian rhythm, etc. Yes, okay, yeah, absolutely. I will post the link to when we're done with this live stream. I will find the link on YouTube and I'll post it to my stories, so you can check there. And and then if you want to see his latest cosmic forecast, he be actually, Sam, you might be interested in his channel, because he does talk about this kind of stuff all the time and what's going on with the magnetic radiation in the fields, and he compares it to the astrology. He also does little meditations and stuff at the end as well, because he's kind of tries to combine the cosmic weather that's going on with something of the metaphysical, as he says. So interesting report that he does. But it does bring me to, and I'm going to do some readings for today, because with all the astrology that's going on, we've got this, and then another 4 days. This is going to be a rather unsettled weekend. I think, is Venus moving into Capricorn? I don't know. Venus is making a move. And my friend is I'm telling about his Ryan, says it's like being in a microwave. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, it's kind of, yes, it is. That's the thing. And they said this is why Jenny and I talk about this a lot, because there's different things that are going on. Yes, soon, Venus and Cap, right. Thank you. There is this kind of, energetically, sometimes we're all feeling some of these things, and some people theorize that people who are moving towards that higher frequency vibration, and again, higher not in the sense of better than this one, but just it's expansive. Like I said, you see more and you experience more, but it's also about the way in which our DNA can process this change. I've said it all the time before, even before all this. I was like, our nervous systems and our bodies are limited. We like to think of ourselves as being without limits because we have a mind that can think. But actually, our mind is also another tool that limits us. So sometimes a lot of these things, when we say, oh, well, this thing is going on, people go, like, and again, to be fair, that's what this other guy, though, on World Astrology Report was bringing up. He said 2025 is about to get weird. And the reason he said that is because the other thing that's coming up that we're moving towards is Neptune and Saturn are going to be conjunct. And right now they're both in Pisces, and they're both going to move into Aries early in the year, and they are going to be conjunct each other. And when the two of them are in conjunction, that he says that is when you have weird stuff happen. Like he was talking about, he says it happens every 36 years. And when it does, this is when you hear, for example, more UFO sightings and reports. It's when you see more, what is it? It's when you hear about, for example, when the CIA did like their MK Ultra and all those kinds of projects, like that was the time period that happened. And as he pointed out, he says, be careful about these things. Some of them are real and some of them are hoaxes. And that's another thing. Maybe I can share that with you as well. But I thought that was interesting because he said we're going to be experiencing that Neptune-Saturn conjunction for quite a long period of time. He didn't say, I forget exactly, but it's many months. It's not, or maybe even over a year. It's not going to be like a one-time, it's not going to be for a week and then go away. So there's this conjunction that's going to be going on. And he says that's the time when more, as he puts it, more paranormal stuff happens. But again, with that Neptune-Saturn thing, what's real and what's not real. And sometimes it's people who take advantage of those energies to try to promote something that isn't real. So, they had a UAP hearing at Congress, but I know we were moving towards staged alien contact the first time. Yes, and the UAP hearings, and it's interesting because he talks a lot about that too in the background of that. And he says, but a lot of it he feels like is just the military, whatever, if there is really something going on, he feels like the public really doesn't know. Like they'll have a public-facing thing so that everybody thinks that they know what's going on. That's something that he had said, and I don't know. He doesn't. The person on this World Astrology Report, and I don't remember his name, but I think he's somebody who's not. He's not very conspiratorial. He seems pretty grounded in his discussions. So I think that's another video that's worth watching because. And also this idea of moving, very Neptune, yes. And also this idea of everything moving into Aries energy. I'm having a whole lot of messages and stuff around children. And especially around children who were, grew up in traumatic or abusive kind of situations. Like, for example, the podcast that Joanne did with Wayne. He talks about, his childhood, how his life started, because they had these Indian schools. And I got a message about that this morning, Joanne, that you might find interesting. Azrael was talking to me about something, and out of the blue, he says, yeah, the 400 with bad blood or bad faith, that the children who breed their more or less their toxicity into the children, those children are now lamps of peace, which I thought was really interesting. Because I wasn't asking any questions about that. It just came out in the reading, and I was like, whoa, okay. So thought I might mention that to you. I was also talking to Ellen, and those of you who have been... Ellen is going to participate in our dream workshop next week, so she's going to be there, and that one's going to be... that's beautiful, yes. And 4 p.m. UK time next week for the dream workshop. So and I'll send an email to everybody who was in it before and anybody who has expressed an interest, just to have the link there and everything. When people are interested in registering. But I know Ellen said she's definitely in. And but we were talking exactly about that subject because Ellen's been doing a lot of research on adoption. She's adopted, and what these kinds of institutions that we have, what kind of impact they have on children. And how it can change them and so forth, and I also saw an Alan Watts. Oh yeah, I'd like to register. I had wild dreams this week in particular. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, perfect. I will send that out today for next week. So like I said, this is a whole week. You got plenty of time. But just to remind people that it's there. Does it matter that I missed the first one? It does not. No, exactly. Even if you didn't take the first one, I will send everybody the form that I use. And again, if you don't write things out on the form, it's fine. It's just a way of maybe structuring the way we're going to talk about the dream. We're in a class, so but people will come in and throw in what their impressions and their ideas are. Because everybody has their own ideas about symbolism, and then of course, whoever you as the dreamer also will have your own ideas about the symbolism as well, which are as valid as the other ones. So it's kind of an amplification process. It allows us to kind of look at all the pieces and then kind of get a feeling for where does this dream land? What kind of a dream is it? Where does it land? And what is it? What do you want to take away from it potentially? And it's always been a very fruitful discussion. I mean, I feel like everybody's walked away going, "Oh wow, I hadn't thought about that." So. Yes, you can totally be in on that one, and I will post that today. And actually, I'll send you the link to your Facebook Messenger because I know male is kind of, on and off. I have no clue. Minor bizarre. Yeah, well, that's it. This is and yeah, I've been having a lot of bizarre dreams lately too. I've talked about some of them here, but this is definitely a big time for that. But the Aries thing with the children, that's what's really interesting to me. Because then I saw another Alan Watts piece yesterday, because I told you now I'm doing Alan Watts in the morning, instead of the news or comedy shows or something else. And he was literally talking about it. I remember this was a piece from his book, The Wisdom of Insecurity, where he talks about when children come into the world, he says the system in which we are immediately indoctrinated into. He says when children are born, he says we don't say welcome. It's good to have you here. We're going to show you the rules of this game of society, and and as you get older and you play by these rules, maybe you'll find a way to make better rules. He talks about it in that way. He says instead, it's like you're born and it's like, right, you're on probation. And you are not to be trusted, and none of your actual instincts are to be trusted, and you're not to trust anything. And then he says you go through this long system of indoctrination that gives you the expectation that you're always waiting for milestones. He says, and you're never taught to live in the present. So by the time you reach the age where you recognize that that's all a hoax, he said you might be in your 40s, you might be in your 50s, and you're going, "Ooh, what happened?" So he talks about this, and so I feel like seeing all of this stuff, this is what I call synchronicity. When I start seeing these kinds of pockets of discussion around similar topics from different people and different angles, I feel like, okay, there's something to be said. And knowing that we're moving into Aries energy, that's the beginning of the zodiac. That's the new birth. That's like, okay, we've completed the cycle in Pisces, now we're starting again. So there's a lot of energy around about starting again. Let's see. Joanne says, Alex, same Alex, I never usually remember them. Okay, well, like I said, we can do that, bring what you do remember, and we can also, sometimes there's people who just want to participate, who don't always have a dream, but do want to kind of listen and talk about it. Mainlining Alan Watts in the morning, I love it. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I go down, usually after this live stream, I go down and I make my breakfast, and I get my shower and do my yoga, whatever I'm going to do in the morning, and then I jump into whatever my work is for the day. But it's very much and again, every time I see it, these are all things I've read almost all of his books. I've read him over and over again. I've listened to his lectures so many times. But somehow they're always fresh every time you hear them. It's like, wow. It's like, I needed to be reminded of that. And look, we have the North Node on the bottom of the deck. I wanted to do some astrology pulls for today because of this intense energy that we're having. We got Pluto moving into Aquarius next week. Yeah, I mentioned Venus in Cap. We've got this moon, and then the sun's there's going to be a Sun-Uranus conjunction. I don't know if they're in opposition or there's going to be something that's going on again this week. You can see I'm getting the aspects confused in my mind, except for the main ones. But it's there's this whole weekend is just going to be the next, from the 15th to the 19th. It's like, hold on to your hat. It's really going to be. And again, that doesn't mean that anything terrible is going to happen. It means that we're now kind of being challenged to take what's kind of been, what's cloudy, bring some clarity to it, and then come up with the plan of what we're going to do. You think the children thing might be something to do with going back to a childlike place, like via the outers going into Aries. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. That is that. Yes, that is exactly, and that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is that this childlike place is this return to Aries. And the way that impacts us is that now it's time for new energy, new ideas, like emphasis on play and etc. Yes, and as you can see from the cards, that's been what it is. We need to play around. We're not just rehashing the old ideas. We need to play around with new ideas because we're going to be in a new space. And if the Ascension people are correct in any degree, and we're moving into a sphere of this higher light frequency, and which seems to be borne out by these solar storms and these other things that are going on, then that means we're almost pretty much a different kind of being. And so we're not doing things the same way that we did them before. So, good morning. And So yeah, so we're kind of in this interesting space with all the current astrology that's going on here. Okay, so this is what I've pulled for the current astrology that's going on. I'm still going to do our Zen reading, but I wanted to start with this one. So our first astrology card here is the 6th house card. Okay, now 6th house is Virgo energy, right? This is the house of routine. It's funny, somebody mentioned the hermit, or feeling like the hermit, or maybe it was Pat last night, but she said something about things going very slow. She says, "Oh, I feel like it's like, it's taking forever, But hermit energy, of course, is the energy of pulling back and taking a time out and thinking about things deeply. In the fairies deck, it's kind of like the Oakman or the Sage card, where there's somebody who Saturn's challenging us to take our time and to think. And this is in the house of routine. So 6th house is it is what they call one of the Dhisthana houses in Vedic astrology, but it's a house of worry, okay, and anxiety and what we're worried about. And whoa, we just had a whole flock of crows go by. Very interesting. And they're just kind of circling here. So very interesting. But there's a so what we have with this is that this idea of what our routine is, okay? What we're used to, what our patterns are. This has to do with work. This has to do with service to others too. And that was one thing that was also mentioned in one of these reports, was that many of us feel called to leadership. And I have heard that phrase reiterated over and over again from a number of people, friends and clients, and over the last week or two, that people now feel called to leadership of some kind. So 6th house is also, though, about getting your stuff in order. It's about, okay, where am I? Where are things still a mess? What do I have to do? How am I going to, all the loose ends that we've kind of avoided? It's like, now it's time to kind of look at that kind of stuff. But this is also about our work. It's the change to our routine, and it's about the things that we have anxiety about, okay? And it's in the environment, though, of the 9th house, which is Sagittarius energy, okay? And what's the 9th house? Jupiter energy. That's expansive. That is higher education. That is long-distance travel. That is spirituality and changes to spirituality or spiritual systems, okay? It can be traditional systems, but it can also be the way in which we expand our knowledge and our understanding through those systems, right? So we've got this 9th house energy with the 6th house. So it's like we are being challenged to expand, to move on, to move forward. And that's going to mean something different for everybody who's watching. I mean, I know what it means for me, I think. But for other people, we're all being challenged to move in some way or to change. And so we're in this space but we're still in this space of dealing with our routine. Of what needs to be cleaned up. What loose ends do we need to tie up right now? Now, here's what's hidden. Now, this is interesting. The card for what's hidden is the Grand Trine. And Grand Trine energy is very, very positive energy. It literally indicates, like, the universe will pick you up and carry you to where you need to be kind of energy. And now, that doesn't mean there's no work involved, but there is definitely this idea that we're being carried in a particular direction here. So we may all be we may be worried, we may be scared to death right now, going, where are all these changes going to take? We have another, our first Uranus disruption was not the most pleasant one, and then we're thinking, is the second Uranus disruption going to be one as well? Oh, that's the other thing too. I was watching another reader. Her name is Sarah, I think Sarah Hall, and she was saying that. The energy that's going to be coming up after Pluto shifts into Aquarius is that energy of construction, of about seeing, okay, here's the dreams, the Piscean dreams I've had, here's how I'm going to make them manifest, here's what I'm going to do. So the plan, the resources, everything are going to come together after we pass this space. I'm seeing a lot of Earth energy. I'm seeing a lot of Taurus, Capricorn. It's interesting. We're moving into Aquarius, but I'm seeing this. But I said, no, this is about how do we manifest things? How do we manifest the resources and the things that we need to follow the dreams that we have? Okay, so there's that kind of energy. So what's the advice card we have here is Mars. Okay, Mars is this, what are we doing with this energy, right? I feel like Mars is a very restless kind of an energy. and this is also a theme that's come up recently. As I've mentioned before that my guru, the name that she's given me means stillness, Nischala. And that's because my mind is running at 800 miles an hour a lot of the time, and she's like, and again, the name is not, a lot of people when she would name them, the people, I mean, this is what she does for Western people. Obviously, if you're from India and you've been in a certain tradition, she doesn't do that. But a lot of Westerners want, spiritual names, so she will give them, and that's the name she gave to me. And people will say like, oh, that means Mother thinks you're this and that. And I said, no, what Mother's telling me is that if you really want to follow the path of liberation, you need to be still. Okay? So it's like you need to be, that's why I kind of feel like it's like you have to be like your own pillar. You have to be in your own center. And that, there's a variety of ways people do that in different traditions or different spiritual practices. I'm thinking, middle pillar rituals like in Western esoteric practice and stuff like that. There's this idea that you are kind of solid in yourself, and then things kind of move around you. But you finding that still spot in yourself, because that, first of all, that's the space where you can hear whatever your inner voice or whatever your guides, whoever's trying to tell you what the direction is or trying to point you in the right direction. If our mind is trying to jump in and say, yeah, but this and that, blah, 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 then we're not paying attention to what that's saying, or we're not able to hear it over the noise, or we can't distinguish it from the noise, right? But so Mars is definitely about action, though. This is not something that is... good morning. This is not about action, okay? I'm sorry, it is about action. But it's about leadership and action, but it's about, okay, how are we going to take all of these things that we're being moved towards, and we're being moved towards them naturally. Even if we feel like people who want to resist what the changes that are occurring. And I do feel these changes are going to be more beneficial than we think they are right now. Like right now, there's been a lot of upsets, but I don't feel like where we are now is not where we're going to end up, okay? And I feel like so this is basically calling us to action at this point. It's saying what this energy of this full moon is going to challenge us to act. It's going to challenge us, again, that old phrase, move outside your comfort zone, right? Moving into that place. And so, yeah. So we're moving out of our comfort zone into this new space, and trust me, there's a reluctance there. It's a procrastination. There's things that I'm doing and that I want to do, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, well, maybe I can do that tomorrow. We have that kind of energy because a lot of us are tired. We are exhausted, and really what's been exhausting us is the mind. And I feel like the message here is kind of trying to find that stillness. Certain meditations, for example, meditations where you might meditate on a spot on a wall. I was talking about this last night because somebody mentioned this meditation to me in Buddhism, and I said, yes, I've learned a very similar meditation technique actually with my own guru. If you just watch this one spot and then just let your mind run. Like don't try to stop your thoughts. A lot of times what we do is we think, oh, I have to stop my thoughts. It's like, no. Just kind of like letting them all pile up behind the closet door is not the way to do it. You just have to let them flow through. But the thing is, that's the outcome card here, is you have flow. You need to go with the flow of them. And when you detach yourself from your thoughts, it's like, oh, okay, I had the thought, but that doesn't mean now I need to, trip over it and get tangled in it. It's just like, oh, okay, it's there. And I'm not, but we release our judgment on it. It just kind of goes past us. And the more you practice this, okay, more you practice that kind of meditation technique, initially you may do it and then you may say, oh, but I'm still tangled up in my thoughts. Well, yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. But the more you practice distancing yourself from your thoughts, the more you're able to, and again, it's not like you're disassociating from your thoughts, but you're kind of not letting the emotional, knee-jerk reactions that we have, or triggers, or trauma responses, the fight or flight response. It pulls you away from that and allows you to really hear from your own instinct what is the best course of action to take on something. It's not about just our knee-jerk response to everything. So it seems like the energy that we're looking at here with this change, with this full moon in Taurus, this full supermoon that we're having today, as well as the these, like I said, this kind of conjunction to Uranus, the opposition to the sun, and there's a few other aspects, like I said, that are going on. We're getting ready for Pluto to move into Aquarius. Saturn goes direct today. That's the other thing as well. So Saturn is stationing direct today. And, and that's the beginning of the outer planets, over the next month or so. And actually even beyond that, because I think all the retrograde planets will station direct and go direct by next April, I think is what they're saying. But certainly we're now beginning that process of unraveling. And when Saturn goes direct, that means when Saturn is retrograde, then that's where we're kind of stalled. But when Saturn goes direct and starts moving, that's when we can start taking our dreams and saying, okay, now I have a plan. I'm going to manifest this into a plan, into something that I'm going to do. So I don't think this is, I think what this is saying is the hidden factor here is not that we're going to be in for a sledgehammer over the head. Although for some people, if people are very deeply unaware or very much not wanting to change, went to a temple last week and Saturn looked so nice. Yeah, Shani. And having Shani Puja said is also not a bad idea either. Love that. Sounds like all good things truly. Yes, I do feel like we are moving into a space. Like this is a space of opportunity. And, when we have these shakeups, it's sometimes it's just to, as I've mentioned before, the two ways that we shake ourselves out of patterns and complacency is to have some kind of cataclysmic event happen or have some kind of a big collective shakeup, okay, which does happen. But it's also, I've also mentioned how this is done through art. How image is what, image and the way that we use image in ways that are unexpected is the only way to, and by the way, these things almost always make us uncomfortable. They almost always make us uncomfortable, and that's kind of the point, because the idea is if you're too comfortable where you are, then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's nice. Maybe I'll change that one of these days. And if the circumstances and the environment and the universe and whatever path you're on, however that's determined, if you're kind of stalling on doing the next thing that, if you're stalling on your journey, then this may be the kind of thing that, you don't want to wait for them to set the house on fire so that you have to run out of it, right? I mean, we're kind of, but there is a certain amount of, okay, when you encounter something where what was nice and comfortable now isn't, a lot of times what we do instead is we just get mad that it's not nice and comfortable anymore, and we look back and we say, oh, I remember when it was nice and comfortable. And it's like, okay, but the point is that that's not where you are in the present, and there could be another good and comfortable place, maybe even a better place. But we have to, we may be, we don't want to just, we may be stopping too long in one place. And right now, and while there's a lot of good things, there may be a lot of not good things that sometimes we only really recognize in retrospect. We idealize things. And sometimes that idealization, often that idealization, at least, it blurs the edges, at least, of what's going on. So, and Alex was talking about playfulness this morning, and yeah, that's come up again. But what is our center card today in this deck but inner voice, right? Literally what I just said about meditation, finding your inner voice. So this is High Priestess energy, okay? So, again, now, do we have external guides? Yes, many of us do. But we also have the guide of our internal voice. And we've often talked about how the internal and the external are not really that separate. So, if you're having other energies connecting with you, you're one of those energies too. This is part of you. Wow, yeah, Alex says. Yeah, inner voice. That's where we're looking at, the inner voice. And the inner feeling of which we're unaware is a feeling of abundance, okay? And this is the King of Rainbows. And this is the Zorba the Buddha card is what actually, I think the authors of this deck call it. Yeah, the external voice, the High Priestess. I'm the external voice. Maybe, yeah. We were talking the other day about people as vehicles, right? I've often, is where if you carry a message to somebody, then, you're the vehicle for that message, and then the Taurus horns, yeah. This is actually more of a Piscean type card, but yes, the horns of the moon certainly are like the moon bowl and the horns that are connected with that. Certainly. So yes, you do have that. And that actually, though, to your point, Joanne, that would be kind of the way in which we would take that inner voice energy and ground it in some way, But yeah, we've got this kind of Taurian energy internally, right? This abundance. And when she calls it Zorba the Buddha, what she means is kind of the tantric idea of you are merging the what we think of as the material and what we think of as the mundane and our day-to-day practical life with the spiritual. So it's not like, oh, you can either live a spiritual life or a material life. The Zorba the Buddha says, no, you can do both. You can do both. You can be you can be in the world as a person who is connected and aware that what you see in front of you is not all that there is. And that there's other ways of knowing. This is the way I've always talked about it. It's other ways of knowing. It's not that, we may or may not believe all of these ideas about, galactic stuff and whatever. I mean, again, I'm not saying no to any of that. I'm not saying I'm particularly wedded to a lot of it either. But certainly there does seem to be some evidence that there is this expansion of consciousness and this change in the human being and what the human being is going to be. And this is basically saying, part of what we do is we live this life and we feel like we're not allowed to enjoy it. Like if I'm a spiritual person, then I'm an aesthetic. I'm staying away from this. I don't enjoy this. And then it doesn't mean, by the way, to be completely debauched either. I mean, it's not necessarily, and in fact, I don't know, even saying those things, I feel like that's making a judgment on it. It's just kind of like you allow yourself to experience life. There's going to be good things you experience, bad things you experience, and you should be able to enjoy yourself in your experiences. And a lot of times we feel that we're doing it wrong, like we're not allowed to do that, Now, the external feeling of which we're aware, the patience card. We know we're waiting on something here. We know that some kind of cycle is coming to an end, or some kind of birth is about to happen, but we're waiting for it. And it's interesting because that other reader that I saw the other day, she was talking about how same metaphor I use, that we're in the birth canal, right? We're in the birth canal, and that can be an uncomfortable place. So, what is the advice card? Okay, Six of Coins, and this card's come up a lot for people, I've noticed too, with different readers. And the way that this deck translates this card, because again, like all the cards, there's a positive and negative inflection to the Six of Pentacles. But this one is saying compromise. So compromise meaning like, kind of one hand washing the other kind of thing. Like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of energy that you see with this card. So in other words, don't compromise your own truth. I think we're at a point where if we say, well, I want to make this change, but I'm going to hang on to this thing, My goodness, I'm having such a reaction to this reading. I'm giddy and laughing over here. Okay. Seems to have hit a nerve over there with Alex, for sure. But the compromise is, oh, yes, I'm going to make this change. But, I need to hang on to this thing for reason X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And this is saying, no, you don't want to compromise. Ultimately, there's your playfulness card, Alex. There it is. This is the Page of Wands. And pages, right? Youthful energy. Coming up again. We are in this energy of play. And they're saying, no, don't compromise. Don't just say, well, yes, I'm going to play, but, I have to drudge through these things. I mean, and that may be where the Virgo energy comes in, too, because with Virgo energy, this is like a different way of thinking about work. It's 12 degrees here. Wow, it's only 12 degrees where you are? I mean, that's Fahrenheit, I assume. And in your blanket for it. Ooh, that's cold. So this is about... that's it, the new attitude towards work. So when I think about, we got the Virgo card, the 6th house card with the 9th house card, it's like, okay, we need to have an expanded way of thinking about our work. We need to get beyond, whatever patterns and whatever expectations we have, or even what our ideas are. I think there's some stuff, there's been stuff going on within the family and stuff right now, and... But one of the things we always think about with my mother, and actually I hear this from a lot of families. Like I said, my mother's side is of Eastern European descent, and I've heard this as a feature of Eastern European families, but I realize it's also a feature of other cultures as well. And that is just sort of this idea that, if you're breaking your back and you're hurting, then it's good for you, It's like, and if you're not doing that, then you're lazy and you're shitless and you're doing it wrong and, you're sinful and this and that, and... I think this is what we're trying to move away from. It's like, no, you're entitled to enjoy your life. Your life does not have to be, I'm going to get up and chain myself to the wheel every day and do the thing because that's what makes me a good person. We have there's a lot that's been spoken here around hard work and so forth. This is just so on point. And everyone's saying, yeah, it's because when you have something like that, then your focus is entirely material. It's entirely about money and how much money you have. Now, yeah, we need money to live. Like I'm not getting into that mode of, hey, none of us needs money. We can all forget about our jobs and stuff. But there's a different way to do things. And it's a matter of trying to figure out what that is. A lot of times we feel like, well, this is the only thing I can do, or this is the only way I can do it. So how do we think differently about those things, right? So I feel like a lot of the shakeups we're having are trying to wake us up and say, hey, you know, that's why I feel like Azrael has said, don't look at this as doom and gloom. Like we are at a time when we can say like, no, now we need to restructure, reconstruct, rethink. And these are forces that are coming in. So in spite of anything that's been going on politically or otherwise, these forces are coming in. And you know, and whatever else might be going on is not going to be able to stop that. The eternal multitaskers is what Suda's saying. Yeah, right. Well, this is it. We're always trying to do, and I'm just as guilty. I'm sure today I have a day where I'm quiet on appointments and stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, this is when I can catch up on this and do that. But I also like again, the Mars energy, I feel like I'm being driven to like, you know, no, you clean up, clear the house out, like keep moving forward on that. But not to do it in a way where it's like drudgery, you know? You know, or not to feel like, you know, if I haven't filled every second of my day, I've wasted it. You know, that's another added thing that we always have, right? Saturn and time, right? I'm wasting my time, right? I need to, oh my God, I spent that 10 seconds, you know, that hour not doing anything. I could have accomplished these things, right? You know, we all do that. And it's just kind of saying, well, you know, maybe you don't need to do anything. Not doing anything is actually, it's like I said, with the heart opening is harder than closing your heart, and not doing anything is harder than doing something, because, you know, the passive feminine, active masculine, right? No. If we're not doing something, we're doing it wrong, is what we think. But there's a different way to think about it. So yeah, so we're all kind of on this little adventure. So anyway, I wish all of you a very happy full moon in Taurus, and I do hope that with these shifts that you know, any changes that come in your life are not anything that you're not, well, we might not be prepared for them, but that they bring good surprises. You know, that's what we want. That's what I hope. I hope they're going to bring good surprises and good opportunities for people. But remember, don't do the Four of Cups things and go, well, I don't know if this opportunity is perfect. Like, you know, you might be being, if your instinct's calling you to like really jump for something, then pay attention to that at this time, because I think that's what's important. Thanks so much, Brigid friends. Glad to start the day with you all. This is exactly what I needed today. Fantastic. Yes. Well, like I said, I always enjoy starting my day with you guys. And thanks, Reed and Celestial Warriors. Yes. Yeah, we are definitely we're definitely moving into this new space. And like I said, I feel like a lot of people are feeling this kind of call to leadership, or at least to action for something. So yeah, that's going to be different for each of us. But of course, what's the expression? Godspeed, you know? So thanks, Brigid, for the well wishes. Oh, you're welcome, man. Yeah. And absolutely. So I will definitely be seeing you guys tomorrow morning. Like I said, I have the class next Saturday, and some of you I'll be seeing for different things during the week, you know, appointments and stuff. But I do hope you have a reasonably balanced weekend, and you know, like I said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.